province, and behind me is the quarantine shelters in the Gaoqing Bay district in the city. You can see that those construction workers, they are busy working. Let me say a few words about the data. As of yesterday, there are 4,400 confirmed cases and 2,700 of them are asymptomatic cases. We also identified more than 10,000 people with close contact with those confirmed cases. So this is why this quarantine shelter or center is built. The Jilin city has mobilized a number of hotels to quarantine those with close contact with the confirmed cases. So this quarantine center is built to quarantine those people, and it will play a very important role in cut the spread of the disease. And right now they are doing two processes. The first is flattening the floor, and the other is assembling the different components. Standing behind me is Yu Yang, director of this quarantine center. So tell us something about your work. We are flattening the floor, and we expect that by this evening we can deliver this part of the job. And the next step is to assemble all the different parts. So we are currently flattening the floor to make it ready for the installation of the makeshift quarantine centers. Well, I heard that you have a graphic drawing to show us. May I take a look of the drawing? And how many teams of workers do you have today? Well, I can tell you we have many teams. I will hand it over to my colleague who can give you a more detailed introduction. So this is the construction drawing of this makeshift quarantine center. Yes. So this is Gaoxinan district. So take a look at this area. This is the construction area, and it takes a total of 430,000 square meters. It has 2 major zones and 10 smaller blocks. So these are the different makeshift quarantine houses. So we are in charge of just for this area. Because it's very cold and this is not a flat area, so we have to first and foremost flatten the floor. We also have some hills here. You have to flatten them. A lot of that is frozen soil, and that is making our job very difficult. But we have been working on this area for 3 consecutive days. We have achieved some milestone results. So take a look at those rectangular boxes, and those are the places where those makeshift quarantine centers will be built. We have altogether 6,000 beds. So on this side of the construction drawing, we have the dormitory for those service personnel. So which means that by the end of today, you will call it a complete success for your part of the job. So later today in the evening, you will transition to the second stage of the installation. Yes, outside this compound, we have some trucks who are ready to bring in more materials. You can see it's very cold today because starting from yesterday it has been snowing. And take a look at the floor, it's muddy. This, I think, has brought some difficulties to the construction workers. Yes, because we're having muddy floors, and this is making the vehicles very difficult to drive. And also, it's super wet floor. It's snowing. Our construction workers, they're working in this very harsh environment, and they are soaked with water on their clothes. But we are running a very tight schedule. We have to race with time. So here on this construction site, you can see a lot of engineering vehicles. And I heard that at the peak hour, there are thousands of construction workers working simultaneously. And we have more than 300 engineering vehicles, and 100 of those are super large vehicles. And other people, they are working around the clock. So truly, everybody has worked very hard. So the construction project was initiated on March the 10th. We actually got the command on the evening of March the 12th, and on March the 13th, we officially kicked off the construction. So right now we are running out of time, so that's why you are working around the clock. Exactly, because since we have entered this place, we have been working around the clock through different work shifts. None of them have actually taken much rest. We have been working around the clock to make sure that we can deliver on time. And the sooner that we can deliver, the earlier we can cut the spread of the disease, and we can contribute to the zero COVID policy. So this is the vehicle that flattens the floor. Yes, and this is about to end. Take a look at the material that we put on the floor. Yes, you can see some debris, and it's put on the surface of the floor to just make it flat. So what was the original look of this area? Well, originally this is just cropland, and now take a look at this debris or construction materials that we put on the floor, and it's very flat. So which means that to build a makeshift quarantine center, you have to first and foremost have a very large and flat area. Yes, that's necessary because we have to bring in all those vehicles, and if the land is not flat, we cannot do that. And we are using some modern technologies, and we measured the landscaping of this area, and right now we are flattening this construction floor area. So what are the difficulties that you have encountered over the past 3 days? Well, number one, this is construction in winter. We are working on the frozen soil, and it's very hard and it's very difficult to dig the soil up. And also procurements. Within a very short span of 3 days, we procured a lot of debris for this whole large area of 430,000 square meters, and that's the second difficulty. And also our drivers, normally this is their off season. Normally at this time of the year, they are taking a vacation, resting at their homes, but right now they are pulled here to work around the clock. So tell us more about the debris stone that you put on the floor. What difficulties have you gone through in purchasing those construction material? Well, I can tell you that we dispatched more than 50 procurement staff. We went to all the different surrounding counties and districts. So we have ensured sufficient supply of the construction materials, and truly this is very remarkable. So we have a manager here. Why don't you have a few words with him? Hi, what are you in charge of here? So I'm in charge of flattening the floor. I have been working around the clock, and you can tell that from my voice. Well, on the way here, while entering this area, we learned that all the construction workers, they are working very hard and they don't have time to eat lunch, and some of them are just eating meals in their driver's cabin, and it's truly incredible. And I took some photos, and I can show to our viewers. Everybody is working so hard, and this is the breakfast time, and this is how they had their breakfast. And they don't have a cafeteria, and this is how they eat the breakfast. They're just holding the breakfast box within their hand, and also it's snowing. How do you ensure that people have enough rest? So we are finding more and more drivers and construction workers so that we may be able to work on a shift. But if we couldn't manage to do that, we encourage people to just make do, just to try their very best. And it's very hard to put together so many construction workers all at once. Yes, because we need hundreds of them, and we need to do a lot of work to bring people here. And this is generally the off season for construction workers. And we approached to agencies that we have worked before, and this is the epidemic time, and it's very difficult for you to find people working here. And truly, it's incredible that we managed to put together hundreds of construction workers within a very short span of a couple of days. And truly, we have mobilized a great number of construction workers very quickly. Well, we just walked a few meters. You can see that two different teams, they're working together. We have the digger that is digging up the frozen soil, and then those abundant soil, they will be put in those concave areas. And if we zoom in, and you can see a lot of crane tower-like machines, and those machines, they are actually hanging up those makeshift quarantine houses. And you can see this is a prefabricated building, so that is how they could very quickly build up a makeshift quarantine center. Bear in mind that this is taking an area of 430,000 square meters, and this will have more than 6,000 beds when it is fully completed. Also, we're having this very big snow over the past 2 days, and the snow will melt when it falls on your shoulder, and then it will become water, which means that you're wearing not very dry clothing, and also some of the construction workers have got a cold. Well, this is a special time, and we have to we have to be perseverant. Only with persistence and perseverance can we overcome this difficulty. The construction workers, they have to overcome the difficulties they face. The construction workers are truly working very hard, and also the drivers of all those vehicles, and they are driving on very smooth floor. And because it's snowing, the work pace has been severely affected, and this is already the third snow in 3 days. It's making everything more difficult. We are flattening the floor. We have to make sure that we have good visibility on site, but the snow is making it very difficult because snow is piling up on the ground. Take a look at those construction materials, and from the driver's license plate, we can see that this is from Heilongjiang province. These construction materials, they will be eventually assembled into a makeshift quarantine center that will feature more than 6,000 beds. We will bring in people with close contact with those confirmed cases, and they will be isolated here. So from a distance, you can see that this is how they assemble the different rooms or makeshift houses. They are relying on those crane towers. They just assemble different pieces together, and later they will move in the different equipments. And I heard that within each room there is a bathroom and there's a toilet. Is that correct? Yes. We will make sure that each room has a toilet. And we are relying on electricity for heating. So where does the electricity come from? And I heard that you solved the problem of electricity, but you have to figure out how to solve heating and water supply. Yes, yesterday we solved the electricity issue, and we are right now setting things up, and I believe gradually we will be able to provide water, hot water, and also heating to this place. So we are only covering part of this construction area because this is just huge. You can imagine the engineering difficulties that we are facing right now because this is thousands of people working at the same time. A lot of construction workers, a lot of engineering vehicles, a lot of engineering tasks. Well, I consulted the construction company, and they said that they are working around the clock to make sure that they can deliver on time. And their workers have been working around the clock over the past 3 days. All the people, they have been working around the clock 24/7. They are eating here, they are living here, and I believe that before the end of today, the floor can be delivered to the construction company so that they can truly kick off the construction process. All right, now we can get in one of those boxes or makeshift quarantine rooms. So this is a separate room. Each room will be equipped with a bed, a bathroom. It will also be supplied with electricity and hot water. And I heard from the construction company that the heating supply would be relying on electricity. So this is a very preliminary picture of this place, and I can expect a lot of equipment moved in on a later date. So truly, this is a lot of work, I can imagine. If you just look across this alley, this area alone has at least 50 to 60 rooms. And we just saw the construction drawing, and this whole area will be built up into a makeshift quarantine center. We'll take a look at the ceiling. This is with a layer of protection just to ensure that the temperature is satisfactory, and warming or temperature-proof layer is very crucial. So can I have a few words with you? So how do you set things up here? So you can see that we have a lot of boards. Each room will be with a window and a door. And there are two windows actually, one in the front, the other one in the back. So how many hours have we been working for the past few days? And we didn't rest until 9 or 10 o'clock in the evening. So I believe that this place will be delivered to you from this evening, and you can expect some very harsh hours in the coming days. So everybody's working around the clock or working extra hours. Yes, but there is no other way out, so we have to do this. So all the equipments are here, and we have to make sure that we can supplement the number of working staff. So at the peak hour, we can imagine some 1,000 workers working all together in this place. So, dear viewers, you saw this place. This is only the beginning, and they are assembling the different parts together to make makeshift quarantine centers and spaces. We're going to bring all the different equipments in when this place is ready. And starting from this afternoon, this place will start assembling different parts together. We have another team working just in front of us, and those are for flattening of the ground. I believe that by the end of today, this area will be made into very flat ground. Well, a lot of the viewers, they are wondering why this is not called makeshift hospitals. Well, let me tell you that Jilin province has designated 5 makeshift hospitals. They altogether have more than 11,000 medical beds. So what are the makeshift hospitals? What are the makeshift quarantine centers for? So this is mainly for those without symptoms or those who have a close contact with the confirmed cases. According to the Provincial Health Commission of Jilin, they are currently planning for 3 makeshift hospitals, and they can supplement the number of medical beds by 7,000. So what is the difference between makeshift hospitals and makeshift quarantine centers? Well, let me tell you again that the quarantine center is for those who have a close contact with those confirmed cases. Those close contact, they cannot be put together with those confirmed cases or asymptomatic cases. So that is why they are building these makeshift quarantine centers. As they make progress in epidemiological survey, as they gain a better understanding about the group of population that has a close contact with the confirmed cases, they will come up with better plans for quarantine and isolation. The quarantine center is built to ensure that all the people who have a close contact with the confirmed cases are isolated so that we can cut the spread of the disease. And gradually we can bring the confirmed cases to 0, and we can recover the normal social life of all the people. We have been covering this activity over the past few days in Jilin province, and I can tell you there are medical assistance teams from different places. They have already arrived here. We have people from Heilongjiang, Liaoning, Inner Mongolia, Henan province, as well as Jiangxi province. Already more than 900 of them have arrived in Jilin province, and they will be working in designated hospitals, makeshift cabin hospitals, and they will also be working for the nucleic acid testing campaign in the city. To our knowledge, Jilin province is right now running short of medical supplies, and we hope that they can come up with better and more supplies, and with more and more makeshift quarantine centers. We hope that the situation can be mitigated and the situation of COVID-19 can be contained in this part of the country. We have already obtained some data, but bear in mind that the data is changing. And we know that each room is equipped with an independent bathroom, and there are different zones: the living area, the quarantine area, the area for garbage. Within every 50 people in isolation, there will be 1 doctor. Well, this is designed so because those are just people with close contact with the confirmed cases, and that's why they don't dispatch a lot of medical doctors here, because it's not necessary. And also, you can take a look at each cabin, and there is a wall between different cabins, and this is simply for quarantine control. And there's a distance between different zones, and this is simply to cut the spread of the disease, to separate them physically so that the disease can be contained, if there is any. And right now you can see this digging on this crane machine, and you can see it's putting one cabin in place. If you watch closely, between each two cabins there is a physical gap. So when do you expect this finished? Well, we will be able to deliver the ground to the construction company, and I can see that you have worked here for 4 consecutive days, and by the end of today, finally, you are able to deliver this piece of ground to the construction company, and they can quickly start the assembly work. So now we can see more construction workers and materials. They are entering this compound, and we will stay tuned. We will follow the situation. And dear viewers, this is the end of today's program. Thank you for watching.